Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, for what is going to be the 10th different running of Silverstone in RPL F1. The track we return to that has been ran every single season of RPL is here for more action. 26 laps, full qualifying, and tons to look forward to. I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles, tonight, and alongside me, as always, RPL Titan Iron. Welcome along.
It is good to be here, and what fun it'll be. 10th running of the British Grand Prix. A lot of drivers, this is their home track. Wondering if one of those home drivers will be picking off the win. We'll have to wait and see. I know last year the race was won by Scyther, so hopefully, maybe, who knows, maybe possible one of the UK or other England-based region drivers can pull off a win.
I just want to correct you. It was recent Bourbon Racing for the win last season. Then the previous seasons it was Scyther twice winning here. And Luke also has won here 3 times as well. So, yeah, it is not out of the question that could happen. Before we go over any standings or highlights, I want to go over last week's podium result and also Tier 2's podium result yesterday. Tier 2 yesterday saw Gecko win the race. Also making up the rest of the podium in Portimao included Red Bulls, Bonkers, and Cintrix. Last week as well for Austria, it was Cookie winning the race by 20 seconds, similar to Max Verstappen real life in Bahrain, really, with the way it was. TB and Reese completed the podium after Miniko was spun around in the last lap and had to settle for 5th place rather than what would have been a first podium, and a double Merc podium too with that. So, Scyther got a penalty for that incident with Miniko, because Miniko was spun around by Scyther. Scyther also got a penalty for a different incident that has now been reduced. So the championship standings coming in, Scyther was 67 points back. Now he's 63. Probably not too much focus toward that. Whereas the constructors table as well, since Scyther has left, McLaren have lost 130 points to Red Bull in just a little over a month time. And as we get going for Q1, we'll find out if there's any rain around the circuit. Usually there tends to be every once in a while, but a much-loved circuit by the drivers we're back at, and we're back here for a 10th time, Titan.
Yeah, very true. I mean, like I said, this track has been raced at every single season of RPL. I raced this track in Tier 1 back in Season 1. Wound up coming up just short of a points in the Haas back then. But yeah, this track is very favored by a lot of these guys. So many famous corners and fun all around. Just want to mention on my end, a couple of my favorite corners on this track is basically, well, I think a lot may possibly agree. The winding section of Magus, Becketson Chapel. That's one of my favorite corners. And the final chicane right at Sector 3, the Vale chicane. That's another one of my favorites. Some overtaking opportunities in that chicane. 2 DRS zones heading into Luffield and in Stowe. So quite a few overtaking opportunities, and heck, we may even see, as it is possible, very risky but possible, I'm overtaking in right around Cops.
Yeah, lots of action for tonight. Let's get the headlines going with what is brand spanking new or just updated. We have Cam going from Williams to Aston Martin full-time now. Cam not here tonight, but will have to serve a qualifying ban the next time he races due to racking up too many penalty points. Hunted will be the team principal of Alpine soon, taking over Tadpole's role. Zazzi is now full-time Tier 1 once again in an Alfa Romeo. I believe he got a podium in an Alfa Romeo in this race back in Season 1. Season 11 F1 lineups confirmed for 3 different drivers. Miniko at Mercedes, Josh at Williams, and George Alp Williams going to go to McLaren. Very, very bold moves. Very, very usual sights as well with Minico and Mercedes. But as for full-time this season, NRM KVS, full-time at Haas, and for tonight's loans, we've got Stanners making his first Tier 1 start. He's in Alpine. Mr. Speedy on reserving duties in Aston Martin. HSR Gecko had to step down as team principal, co-team principal of Ferrari to be loaned out to AlphaTauri. Wavy Knife in Williams for tonight's event. Kipu reserving AlphaTauri. TTM Barney returns after not being here for the past few weeks. And Bonkers 5 first lap on board, which I'm going to give it to you, Titan. He is on loan to Williams. And for him, although he's the Scotsman, he is at his home race. Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bonkers that you just saw on the onboard got a little wiggle going into the village. Now coming out, and he had to back off because of that wiggle. So unfortunately, he's going to have to try again later on. One other driver, two other things to update on. One driver that you missed that's here tonight, Hunted, Tier 2, is in a McLaren for tonight. And also a fourth driver confirmed for Tier 1 Season 11, that being Cookie to Red Bull.
And Josh reminded me, I think we mentioned it last week too, Korsman at Aston Martin next season.
I forgot about him too, yeah.
Lots of big names either staying in big places or going to other places. Pipu is now in the middle sector. We're going to watch this lap because he might be one of the drivers facing elimination in Q1, especially considering the car he is in. Now he's going to go to Stowe. In this corner, we'll see a lot of overtaking opportunities tonight. Maybe some track limits, a lot of battling. And then it leads to this final chicane. Where can track limits be a tricky thing? Yes, but also no. It's going to be getting on the power and getting to cross the line, which is a 27.4, the benchmark for these drivers.
Yeah, very true indeed. And Kip sets that benchmark with a 27.4 for him. Decently all right in the AlphaTauri. Let's see, more cars are coming across the line or to either start their laps or just finishing theirs.
Minico, by the way.
Hunted's one.
Gecko.
There's Gecko, 27.1 for him in the loan to AlphaTauri. Hunted now coming across 26.1. Was him fastest at this moment. Pretty good stuff for him.
For reference, Titan, we should be seeing these times improve throughout this session and into Q2. Pole time last season was a 24.9. It was a Red Bull front row lockout the last time we seen one. I'm going to have you go on board with Minico as I finish my food here that I've not really had today. Minico crosses Sector 1, 27.3. Take it away.
All right, so Minico working his way through left field as we speak. Getting back up into the gears, passing the old pit lane, and Bonkers has crashed out in Stowe. Just seeing that on the track map. As I'm on board, as the stream is still on board with Minico, going through Maggots, Beckett's, and Chapel, staying high in those gears, drops down to 6th gear in the Chapel, back onto the power, DRS enabled. As these cars are getting their way, as he's getting his way up to the power, some of these guys can get up to 205, maybe close to 210 miles an hour. As Cookie puts fastest with those medium set of tires. As Minico now heading into the Vale chicane to finish off his lap. Now coming into the final corner, the club corner, across the line he goes, and Minico top of the board on those sauce with a 25.7.
Wow. Who else do we have on a lap? Let's see. TTM Barney starting one for Haas. Interesting. Let's go to him. Sector 1 now for him. The loop area. It's a bit of a fun area to race around here. Village, then the loop here first. Sorry. Either way. Then we're on the Wellington Straight. And now to Brooklyn's Bonkers 5. Crashing out for Williams. Everybody just has to set a lap and they will beat him. That's as simple as that. Now,
just sitting
Traffic,
in
hold
the
on. We
Discord.
got traffic
just
for
checking
Barney.
in the Discord
Titan, hold
chat.
on. We got
Right.
traffic for Barney. Luckily, the Aston got out of the way. It was very scary for you to cut him because we were about to miss Barney almost getting blocked. Luckily, he didn't. Go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, my bad.
You're good.
My bad interrupting there. Just saw poor Barney dealing with all that traffic. It just really messed him up. He had a McLaren to the right and Aston to the left. It was a mess in some of those areas. I was just checking the driver's chat. Bonky, the reason he crashed in Stowe, wheel failure. His wheel died on him.
Makes sense. Final couple corners for TTM Barney to try to set himself up on the board. He will be one of 9 drivers completing a lap, and he is 7th fastest behind NRM KVS, the teammate, while he puts Speedy in a Haas sandwich. Who do you want to go on board with, Titan? We got Owen crossing the line. I know that.
Well,
that'll be
I
first
am
before he
on
laps.
board with Reese.
All right, there you go. Owen 2nd fastest while you go tackle it with Reese.
I'm board with Reese as he's going through Chapel right now. As he completes Sector 2, minute 2.6 on his end. Really not the fastest second sector, but should be pretty quick on his end. I would say probably looking at it as he goes through Vale, I'm going to say he's probably going to be, maybe get lucky to be ahead of Minico, or, oh, he got a little loose out of the exit there. Comes across the line. Only 8th fastest. That's a bit unusual. It's a bit unusual for Reese to be that far down on his qualifying run. As Tadpole was just switching to him. He just invalidated, so he is finished on that. Let's see
Cypher on the lap.
who's next.
So I threw
Got
in
the
a lap
Chiller.
as well,
on my
Titan,
end.
by the way.
Yeah.
He's going purple in Sector 1. It's pretty neat for him. Got his teammate 2nd fastest. So, yeah, George did improve there, by the way. And, yeah, Scyther last week faced the Stewards Room again. Was facing a qualifying ban in today, but got the penalty reduced from a 5 to a 3 seconds. So it means that he does get to qualify. It's always nice getting penalties appealed, Titan, whenever it helps you. But Scyther now has one less podium than Cookie, rather than the same amount. He's getting a little bit of a slipstream from the Red Bull. That was either Cookie or Reese.
I think that was, I believe, yeah, that was Reese.
All right. Well, they did collide on track last week, and they usually race well together. But last week was one of those mistakes that usually don't happen from Scyther often. But this week, no mistake, 2nd place. It's pretty neat from him. The fake TB is also crossing the line to go 7th fastest. So this field is getting closer more by the minute. We got Stanners on a lap. How about you take over at the final sector for this Alpine driver?
Yeah, so Stanners heading down the hangar straight as he heads down into Stowe, getting right back up into the gears. Currently in 7th gear, heading into the braking zone of the Vale chicane. Nice and easy on the power, getting the power back up, and he comes across the line. Stanners only 12th fastest at this moment. And currently, Minico and George, the only 2 cars that have called it and believe that they are safe. And no doubt in my mind, Minico 25.7, George 25.8. Those are definitely safe for Q number 2.
Both Ferraris 2nd and 3rd fastest. Cookie's also 4th on the medium tires rather than the softs. We've got Zatzi on a lap for Alfa Romeo. A podium here in Season 1 for Alfa Romeo. That's a very rare sight for them to be on the podium in RPL. It's only happened 4 different times in Tier 1. And this seemed to be one of them in Season 1, excuse me. Either way, he's now coming through Maggots and Beckett's. The Dutch driver You would think maybe it's a home race for him, but no, it's not. He lives a little ways away, and now he's getting a slipstream from what's not a ways away from the Ferrari. That is Scyther helping the teammate out. And now Zatsy coming through a little bit wide there into Stowe corner. Now the chicane he approaches. How does he take this? Right on the curbs, but not too far over them to exceed track limits or have a mistake. But now to the line, Zatsy will need to go again for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Currently 17th fastest on his end. So in about 5 minutes time, the bottom 5 are going to be eliminated from queue number 1. We do have one gone already, that being Bonkers, having a mechanical problem with his wheel. That means currently the bottom 4 at this moment is Hippo, Zatsy, Wavy, and Tadpole, who is just starting a lap on his end. Try to get a lap done.
He does very neatly. So Tadpole will have to get in a time to at least beat Bonkers. But then, once he gets in a time, it has to be better than the top 15 spots. Which is a 27-1 on the cusp right there. Tadpole Sector 1, 27-4. Realistically, compared to where Tadpole has been in Tier 2, along with Hunted, the 2 Tier 2 drivers in this race, racing for McLaren tonight, because Korsman not here again, Andrea not here tonight either, I expect Tadpole to be in that top 11 area. The Chiller, TB, George, Scyther, Minico, the 5 drivers who are believing they're either safe or just calling it quits for the session. Now, if you're calling it quits, you might not always be safe. We've had that happen before, and the most famous one that I can remember is a Tier 2 or a Tier 1 with Stenner in the Ferrari. But this race last season for McLaren, I would say it's a little bit after the patch when the carb grade got added in around there. Things turned around for them. And right now, Tadpole had a Tier 2 race yesterday where McLaren had a chance to keep himself in the constructors fight or not. They're not anymore, but right now he's in the fight for 5th place. That is a really impressive lap from Tadpole, especially considering what we've seen in recent weeks from him. Lots of finishes in Tier 1 that have not been as high up as that in recent memory. He's got 1 points finish this season as far as I'm aware, returning to the points in Spain, but besides that, he had nearly a 15 race streak of not being in the points for the longest time.
Yeah, absolutely. And just taking a look at some of the sectors, after Sector 1 and Sector 2, Tadpole was literally about a 1/10 and a half behind Minico when that happened. And in Sector 3, Tadpole was actually slightly faster than Minico in Sector 3.
Gecko, at his home race Titan, is going 4.5 faster in the AlphaTauri right now. This is going to set him out of the Chiller, assuming he completes the lap cleanly, but hopping over that orange curb right there is where I'm bored with him, will not help his case. That will surely degress the lap time, and it did not matter at all. He actually improved in the last sector to go 12th fastest, just behind Academy teammate for the night, Reese Dainty. That puts Barney in the bottom 5, even though he already was there. It puts him further down, because now Speedy is the one on the cusp and facing elimination. We're going to go on board with Wavy. Wavy's the one on a lap currently. And he's coming through the loop area, now in the Wellington Straight, heading to Sector 2. This is the first lap of the drivers in the risk zone or elimination area. 2/10 up from Wavy, considering he's already 2.2 down. That's exactly what he needs. But he did not need the Haas in the exit of the corner being to the left side. Improvement there from Reese Dainty to at least assure him that he's safe if any of these drivers in the bottom area improve, because Zatsy's in a car that can improve around here. Barney's in a car that may not improve around here, but he's got the skill to get himself out of the bottom 5, and Standards and Speedy surely have the skill to do so too. So Reese doing the right thing there, going out again, but now Wavy coming through the sector split. These guys still haven't started laps. Now Zatsy will, but Wavy 4/10 up, purple through there. This is going to be good enough to get him ahead of Zatsi, but he has to nail this final sector to get ahead of the bottom 5.
Yeah, very true. He has to pull something out of his tail to get himself out of that bottom 5. The final sector is crucial in getting the corners just right. As Wavy working his way through Vale now in the club. Let's see what his improvement is. It's only 17th, and unfortunately, with under 30 seconds to go, Wavy unfortunately is out of Q1.
Unless by some way he is able to not cool down that lap, and it looks like he has cooled down that lap, so he is out. Also improving, Jack Miles, I believe, 10th fastest for him. A lot of the drivers retiring from the session because they can't get a lap out on track. Checker flag waving now. It is now or never for you to complete a lap, get across the line, and improve. Zatsi improving in the first sector. What does the second sector mean? So it is 4/10 up. This is good for him because this will get him ahead of Wavy, but he needs to be ahead of Speedy though. Speedy and Barney, that area from 15th to 16th, one going in, one going out, is just 100th. And Wavy completed a lap before and got the checkered flag technically. He's out. I think he expected that with this car, but with this car that got a podium in Season 1 with Alfa Romeo, they'll barely get in for now. But he needs to hope no one improves because Speedy is improving 2/10 up, and Speedy needs those 2/10 massively to get the gap on Zatsi. Cars either retiring, giving up, or already safe. So Speedy, now across the line, is safe. Stanners improves, 8th fastest. That knocks Zatsi out for sure, but is there anyone else going to join him? Kippu, next across the line for AlphaTauri. He's done some great performances in this car in Tier 2, but now it's all down to him in Tier 1, where it doesn't look so great now, but can he beat Wavy? No. Wavy across the line, going to be it. Barney, though, does improve, but cannot get to the top 15. He knocks Zatsi, the Academy teammate, 1 place lower. Speedy avoids elimination, and DeChiller does too. The bottom 5, TTM Barney, Zatsi, both Williams, Wavy, and Bonky, and Kippu. Second to the bottom 5 from the top.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And what's more wild is take a look at how close it is. We have a 6/10 gap from 6th all the way down to 15th. It is very close in that midfield, and only a few drivers into that 25s. So this is as qualifying ramps up further in Q2 and Q3. I would probably say the racing is going to get even closer than it's supposed to be.
Q1 always does seem to be close here, Cookie says, and I agree with that. It always seems to be one of the most interesting circuits and layouts that provides close racing, whether it's on the track, in the battles, or in qualifying. In Minico, for the first time in his RPL career, tops a qualifying session. Mercedes needed that badly. First time they've been on top in a qualifying session since Be Good in not Tier 2, Q2, France. Scyther, George, Cookie, Tadpole. That's an interesting top 5 for sure. And we got the bottom 5. Barney for Haas, Zatsi for Alfa Romeo, Wavy, Kippu, and Bonkers 5. So, a home race for Kippu, a home race for Bonkers. Wavy, technically a home race, but the team that is not going to be in this session with at least one of their cars is Williams. They have both cars out. One crashed, one was not there on pace. I think that's no surprise, Titan, considering L74G in a Williams this race last season. He was just on the cusp of points, 11th, 12th, 13th area, but he couldn't even make it out of Q1 as far as I remember last season in this race. He was, he's one of our best drivers statistically in RPL, and he just couldn't get out of that bottom 5, and I don't think it's a surprise that car is just not strong enough to do so around here.
Yeah, I mean, with some of the cars, it does take a bit of skill and figuring out the workings to see what are the limits of it. If you can try to exceed those limits, but try not to do too much wear to the car. But I mean, like I said, even some of the best, they can have misfortunes in regards to their qualifying, as you mentioned about with Luke last season. was close to getting into the points. Couldn't get out of Q1 last season, but it is quite interesting. And another piece I just want to note about Q1, as some of the cars are coming out to get Q2 underway. The top four was only separated by a tenth and a half, and the odd one out was Cookie, who did his time on the mediums.
Yeah.
Which I'm probably saying if he was on the sauce, he probably would have cleared Minico probably by at least 3/10 of a second.
But I think Cookie, by doing this strategy of going on the mediums constantly in Q1, is a lot smarter for him because if there is any safety cars, he has a fresh pair of softs that these guys may not. So it's very interesting with that being the case, but last season's race in Tier 1 was safety car free. It was that trend that started back in Austria, the race prior to that last season, and we just ran Austria last week, where last season in this area of races in the European stretch, lots of safety car free races, lots of less DNFs, just a lot more action. Austria last season was quite action filled. Silverstone last season was action filled. We had the battle in the midfield from 7th, 8th on back for points. We had the battle for the lead between Bourbon and Red Bull at the time. Reese and Red Bull winning his home race. And then Boss Cookie and Cryptic for Mercedes at the time battling for the podium. So tons of battles around the circuit that we constantly see time and time again. It's just one of those circuits that the drivers love, like I said, and the Chiller going through turn 1, turn 2, a little bit too much in the curb, but this area, lots of wheel-to-wheel racing we see all the time. And you know what? The camera angle always usually helps itself out when they are wheel-to-wheel. The loop area, Wellington Straight, just so many famous corners around this circuit that these drivers have to tackle their way through and find some way to gain time. 27.7 from Darius right there in the first sector. I would say last week there was an improvement from him on pace. We saw the Darius with pace in the race and with qualifying last week, Titan, that we were not used to seeing at the start of the season when he was with Red Bull or even when he switched over to Aston Martin, that he didn't have that often. He had it every once in a while. He had it in both the qualifying and the race, but now as he comes to Maggots and Beckett's end of Sector 3, the only thing he didn't really have, though, is the racecraft, because there were penalties still, and there was an incident with Andrea again. So, barring that, we have the Darius with pace in the race once again that we have in qualifying, but you just got to hit all the pieces, though, because that's what's missing for him to outperform this car. He's the only alpha in this session.
Yeah, very true indeed. Like I said, like I've mentioned it with a couple of people, as the Chiller comes across the line to set the benchmark 27.2 for him. Darius lately, he's shown he has the pace in some of the big league cars, like the big three. Minico top of the board, 26.2, not bad for him. But anyways, yeah, the Chiller. Whenever he's in like the top car, like Red Bull, Mercedes, or Ferrari, he has some flashes of strong pace, but had the glaring issue of being inconsistent, and those inconsistencies have costed him drives, and then having second chances, and then having those second chances being blown again. But I think I've mentioned it with a previous driver, in regard from Tier 2, Grandpa. He was similar to the Chiller, was inconsistent in one of the big three cars, but then when he got moved to a lesser team, or basically a midfield team, Grandpa wound up shining really strongly in Tier 2. I think the Chiller, if he keeps it consistent week in, week out, he's probably going to mirror what Grandpa's done.
Well, I've gone on board with NRM KVS, who's going purple to the second sector, and needs to set a good time to get himself out of the bottom 5 here in the session. We will have 5 drivers eliminated, and we will have the top 10 move through to Q3, which NRM KVS is hoping to have his name be a part of. 25.4 is the time at the top. 26.3 is the time that NRM KVS is set. And just to put into reference, you said Grandpa, he got the pole here in FE. He was at a 25.1 in that Red Bull. That is the slowest of the pull times in F1 cars ran in this game. The fastest being a 24.903. Grandpa's being a 25.193. We're just messing with that here in Q2. Some guys probably on used sets. Some guys not. Cookie, same time as Minico. Second fastest, but there's a tire difference. Cookie on the mediums. Standards now. RPL Tier 1 debut. Not RPL debut as a whole, though, because speaking of Formula Endurance, not too long ago, he's been racing there constantly on the Sundays in 100% races. Now, time to put it together with the big boys and find out for him in Silverstone, is it cuffing season? And we'll find out if he can cuff himself into the top 10. 26.4. That's near NRM KVS, but I don't know if that's going to be safe considering, Titan, the lap time from the top of the table to 15th to get through into the session last time was 9.5 tenths. He's 1.0 back from Reese, but it's still a big gap, though, because even with Cookie and Minico's lap, he's not far off that either.
Yeah, very true. Last season, the qualifying pace between those top 15 was so close. You couldn't even figure out who was going to be eliminated, and pretty much everyone, with the exception of the Ferraris and the Red Bulls, except those 4 cars, everyone was not safe. I think I could be incorrect, but I believe at the end of Q2 last season, TB, who was in the Mercedes, was no, not Mercedes, in the Alpine.
Yeah.
When he moved out from Red Bull, was one of the cars eliminated, and even a Merc was knocked out as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were surprised about a lot of the things that happened last season because it was such a tight grid, it was such a close field, and a lot of the drivers fought it out. Jack Miles, Welsh driver, home race. George Alp Williams ahead of him on track. Welsh driver, home race. We're on board with Jack, though, in the process for Alpine. Speaking about Alpines, turn 1, turn 2, and now further on where he goes to the inside and tries to be on that curb. Same here as well. You don't want to be totally on it, but this one, little much to the right there from Jack Miles. The debate this week that we had on the YouTube community post for RPL Formula One's social media account was who is the best driver still left on Xbox and not switched to PC. Jack Miles, one of those drivers, still on Xbox, though, and still one of the drivers who has constantly been winning races. And in fact, if I'm correct here, we've had Reese, Cookie, Scyther, Korsman win this season. Jack Miles, the last winner from Xbox in Tier 1 here. That was what Ferrari when he won 2 in a row. But now, he's coming through what was right there, Cop's Corner. Now Maggots and Beckett's. How does he nail this lap? How does he nail this section? He's got traffic. That's a Ferrari. Is that Scyther in the way? Is that Scyther helping Jack? Scyther, I think, getting out of the way. Yes, he is. But then there's an Aston Martin to negotiate your way through. That Aston wiggles. That is Speedy. Or, sorry, yeah, that is Owen, sorry, on an out lap. Speedy is the one behind that on a lap. Jack Miles, Sector 3 now. Got a couple corners to go. We'll see where George does. George does go. George 7th. Jack Miles now. Then we'll switch it to you, Titan, to cover the guys behind. Jack Miles, not one of those guys behind George. He's ahead of his teammate as well of Standers. Pretty good lap there from Jack Miles, while Speedy puts it 11th. On board now it's Scyther. 15th. Not got a lap in. One of 3 drivers.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, very true. Jack putting in a very strong lap for him. 4th fastest, which is pretty dang good. We're on board with Scyther as he's making his way through the loop right now as he gets out through Amtree, down the Wellington Straight, getting back up to the gears. 6th, 8th gear now. These cars can get close to 200 miles an hour into that braking zone of Brooklands, and now in the left field. Pardon me when I do mention that, because if I accidentally get those two mixed up, sometimes I get Luffield and Brooklands mixed up. I've had that happen a couple times.
I get it.
But now the old straight into Cops. Nice and easy. Didn't even have to lift out of that corner. Now through Maggots. Beckett's. Where will he do the braking? He lifts off in Beckett. Gets off and back onto the power in out of Chapel. Down Wellington Straight. DRS wide open. 2.2 for him into the 2nd sector. Very strong for him as now heads into Stowe. Comes out of those corners. Just keep it right on the limits. He does so. And now heading into Vale. Nice and easy, riding close to those curves. Owen goes second in the Aston Martin. Where will Scyther respond? And Scyther steals second from Owen.
While Scyther set that lap, I was very shocked to see DeChiller fourth because this now means Cookie has to come back out on track, considering what the track evolution looks like. Cookie is back out on track. Hunted looks like he's on an outlap, while Gecko is coming through the ending bits of Sector 1. And now in Sector 2, here we go. The old start-finish straight to Cop's Corner for the AlphaTauri driver. In his home race, he won here on track in Tier 2. Didn't get the order with the victory after he had penalties applied from track limits. Cop's Corner is one with track limits that will be a key factor for tonight's event. Maggots and Beckett's as well. Lots of places here for track limits tonight that can be one we have to watch out for these drivers. Now, the Wellington straight, or sorry, the Hanger straight. And now, Stowe and the Chicane and Vale are next here for Gecko and AlphaTauri reserving tonight. Or sorry, on loan, really. Reserving and on loan. The Tier 2 driver who won here on track will be in that top 10, but ahead of DeChiller, meaning there's still more drivers to go. They have to find the time here in order to get themselves out of the bottom 5, because now that sets standards there, and I said earlier that lap time wouldn't be safe. It surely isn't. We're on board with Hunted LAX, who had pole here in Season 10 Tier 2. That was in the Red Bull in a 24.9. The Sector 1 time is a 27.3. So Hunted gonna take over a high-duty role for this academy that is partnered with Alpine, of course. Alpine and McLaren. Alpine Academy. In the coming weeks. But in the meantime, he's got some duties to fill. Who should he put in that car? Who should he put where? What should he do? Who should he keep? Who should he not? And what should he do on this lap in Tier 1 right now? The Welsh driver. A little bit of a struggling area there, that ending bits of Maggots and Beckett's, but the slipstream from Tadpole will be crucial here as long as he just doesn't override it here into Sector 3, 208, and now the final 4 corners to go, Titan. He's got to get himself out of this bottom 5, and he has to go ahead of Tadpole in order to get himself safe. A little bouncy right there from Hunted, but now he comes across the line, the Welsh driver, and will set this lap with a 25.9. I don't know if that's going to be safe, but the track evolution is just ramping up here. Tadpole on a lap now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Hunted got that little wiggle woggle on that orange curb. I think that probably would have cost him at least maybe a 10th right there. But still, to put it in 4th is pretty good. DeChiller call it quits for Q2, and unfortunately, I think he is probably going to be looking at going out of this. Gecko, I mean, I'm not sure if he'll be safe with his time. We do know one car that's out, that being Speedy. He is done. See, you're on board with Tadpole on the stream, and I'm just on my end. I'm just catching the end of Minico's lap. He is currently sitting in 8th at this point in time, with only 40 seconds left. Minico definitely need to get it out of there, but the second fast is pretty good for him.
Yeah, he didn't know if he was safe or not, so that answered his question when he saw more drivers crossing the line. Tadpole 5/10 up and getting the favor returned to him. Slipstream engaged from Hunted. Hunted helping him massively. Tadpole now into Stowe, very much riding the curbs and on the limit, trying to maximize everything he can. Cookie went fastest, beats the Tier 2 pole time from this season and FE, and now Tadpole across the line. A Tier 2 champion will be ahead of the other Tier 2 champion as of recent, Hunted LAX. 6th fastest, but the question now will become, will it be enough? George up by 5/10 for Ferrari. Tons of pace he's had. Checker flag waving. Will it be in the top 10? It will be in the top 10, but it's a matter of if he remains there. DeChiller might be out, and now across the line, it will be Cookie, who is on an in-lap. Next is the Mercedes. That's Fake TB, who is facing elimination. Last week in Austria, TB took what was his 41st podium, but now he gets himself out of the bottom 5, knocking DeChiller out. Next is the Alpines. Jack Miles gets him out of the bottom 5. Gecko now is out and eliminated. Stanner's now coming across the line to eliminate teammate Jack Miles. And now it's up to NRM
Oh,
KVS to
man.
make a difference and see if he can put Hunted LAX out of that bottom 5. Or, into that bottom 5 and out of the top 10 to put his name in there. NRM KVS, can he pull off the upset for Haas? No smaller teams here inside the top 10, but he cannot make the difference. He's only 12th fastest, and HSR Gecko and Chiller, who at one point in the session were really both in the top 5, because of track evolution, they're out.
Yeah, Speedy, Gecko, Chiller are out. KVS just couldn't find enough power to get himself out of the bottom 5. He has to start in 12th, and Jack missing out on Q3 by 77 thousandths of a second. It was very close, but unfortunate for Jack, a multi-time Tier 2 champion and a Tier 1 race winner. Unfortunately, he has to settle for 11th place, and look at that gap from Cookie to Jack, only 9/10 of a second, covering first to 11th.
Jack Miles, a previous podium sitter of this race and a winning contender of this race before seasons ago. So, eliminated in that relegation zone, Mr. Speedy, DeChiller, Gecko, KVS, and Jack Miles. Gecko and Jack, the 2 home drivers, eliminated. We have an AlphaTauri out. We have an Alfa Romeo out. We have an Aston Martin out. We have a Haas. We have an Alpine out. No team got a dumb elimination in this session, but they do join their others who were eliminated. Cookie, fastest, 25-1. Home drivers in this next session. Reese, Tadpole, Stanners, George, TB, Hunted. Those are your home drivers into Q3, which we now will see for pole position. Cookie had a 25-1 that was 2/10 slower than the Tier 1 pole time last season, which was a Red Bull front row lockout. Bourbon was on pole, and the gap was big for that one too. So we may see the same thing repeat. But now, 8 of you watching, chat, get your predictions in for qualifying session number 3 in the Twitch chat right about now for pole prediction time and your top 3 or top 5 predictions. I will do mine in the chat. But Titan, you got an LQ3. Where are these drivers going to be extra careful not invalidating?
Well, did pretty much cover it during Q2. Cops, Stowe, and Maggotts, Beckett, and Chapel. Those are the 3 main areas that you have to watch out for track limits. You can get yourself, and even during the race, you can get track limit warnings and penalties. Another corner, and this is a bit of an unheard of one, but another track that you should also be careful of is actually turn 1 of Abbey. If you turn in too early in that first corner, you can find yourself in trouble with track limit warnings or a penalty during the race. I would know. I've had that happen to me a couple of times. Before I put it down, what my pole time prediction and top 3 prediction, was just checking the RPL Discord chat. Stanners was shocked to get himself into Q3. He had no practice at all, and he even joked that he did it in an Alpine. And Scyther, apparently, his time that he set was on used soft tires. So he still has a few new sets of softs available to him.
Interesting. All but
now,
2 guys out on track. Reese and Scyther, go ahead.
So now my guess, my prediction. Let's see. I'm just seeing your thing in the chat. I'm going to say, honestly, I think possibly that the whole time is actually going to be just a tiny bit slower than your prediction. I'm going to say 24/7.
That's what I wanted to say. But I had to go 24/6. I feel like we'll barely crack it.
Yeah, but then my top 5. I will agree on you on who will be pole, being Cookie. But for the rest of the top 5, in order, second will be Minico, third will be Scyther, Reese will take 4th, and and Owen will be the shock and be 5th.
Interesting. Cookie getting a slipstream from Reese Dainty first before Sector 2 is underway for him. 26.9. He's going fast in that first sector. And now, here he comes. Brooklyn's left field. And now, Woodcote and the old main straight here as we head toward Cops Corner. We've had many, many battles here in this corner, let alone on the circuit with Red Bull. Red Bull have been fighting for the win quite a bit around here. Last season, they were fighting with both cars. Then it was Scyther, Season 8, winning the race. Season 7, I believe, as well, if I'm correct. But now, 101.6 from Cookie in the middle sector. Let's see how he absolutely tries to put this final sector to perfection. Stowe now, riding those curbs. Could have maybe perfected it a little bit better. We'll find out if he has another go to do that. Ooh, a little bit hesitant in that final couple of corners in the chicane, but across the line, benchmark for now, 24.9, already faster than last season's pole time by 0.02 of a second. Minico, slower there. I wonder if any of these guys are on used sets or not. We're going to continue to watch the cars crossing the line before we get to Resource Scyther. FRC Stanners, a little slow in this lap. And the final couple of corners, he's had no practice, so I think that just showed there in the final chicane as he was very hesitant there again. George goes second fastest. That'd be his best qualifying for Tier 1 if he holds it. Owen, you said big shock of the session. Third fastest for now out of the 5 guys who've ran. Reese Dainty, though, first sector for him. Tadpole 2-3. TB across the line will get that first. TB wiggling and absolutely unsteady. That shows with the 4th place qualifying effort. Scyther starts a lap, but now Reese Dainty will be covered on this lap now winner in this race in Season 9. He said this track was the one he's been looking to win in RPL for the longest time. He finally did that. Last week as well, he got what was in Tier 1 a 44th different podium, and it has been for him a nice little streak of 6 consecutive. 2-3 for Reese. Tadpole, by the way, big shock for 3rd place, but now what can Reese Dainty do? One more sector to go.
Yeah, Reese just coming out of Vale, now heading into the braking zone. And coming into the braking zone of Vale, just gets a little bit of that orange curb on the exit there, out of club, and across the line he comes. It is only 4th fastest for Reese, 25.7, and almost 8.5 tenths behind his teammate.
Scyther must have invalidated his first lap because he's now on a backed off lap or an in lap. So very interesting from Skits there to have that happen. We got Tadpole, we got Reese, TB, Scyther, all those guys on in laps. Scyther gonna recharge and maybe go for another one. 5 minutes 56 remaining. You want to get out there probably at the latest right just under the 2-minute mark. Just 2 things to mention for tonight though. Pit stop loss, 28 seconds. ERS gain back though, 14%, and you'd think it's longer with a pit lane like this, but or longer. You think it's more with a longer pit lane like this, but it's actually not. Scyther is in. Any quick thoughts, Titan? And maybe because we don't have anyone out there, we could talk about the weekend upcoming or anything like that in a little bit. But any thoughts on that with the pit lane here, as always?
I mean, it's quite interesting because it is.
Woo.
This is one of the few tracks. This track is one of the few tracks where the pit road speed limit is 50 kilometers an hour, and this is probably also why the ERS, the gain is not as strong as people may think. But it is also one of the tracks where you lose the most time if you're not careful, especially if you inadvertently double stack. The double stack will be even more of a detriment if you are caught up in it. I mean, looking at some of these times that these guys have put out. I mean, literally from first to fourth, it's separated by almost 8.5 tenths. And then you have a couple of guys in the 26s. There's only two guys yet to get a lap in, Scyther and Hunted. In fact, Hunted is about to start his lap, but just taking his time, getting himself right roaring to go up to speed. We'll see what Hunted can do. I mean, Hunted has been in the top five. He's been in the top 7 in Q1. Just got through to Q3 in Q2, getting himself in 10th place. Well, let's see what he's capable of doing in regards to his Q3 time as he heads into the braking zone of Village into the loop. And, oh, he must have made a mistake somewhere. He's backed off.
Oh, boy. In the meantime, we'll get to Cookie, because if Hunted's backed off, we have to keep our eye on people. With that said, I just want to mention a couple of things in the meantime. I pinned in the Twitch chat where we are next week or the rest of this weekend. Formula Endurance tomorrow is in Abu Dhabi. Penultimate round there. Hungary next week for F1 Tier 1, and Tier 2 is in Las Vegas for the finale. We have the Drivers' Championship wrapped up. That's why Owen McMorrin is racing Tier 1 full-time now. And we have a 3-way constructors fight to end off the season. First time that's happened in Tier 2 since Season 5, and maybe only the second or third time ever. Here's Cookie through Abby. Turn 2 now. And now turn 3. Let's find out where he needs to improve and where he will improve. The current gap for pole is 6 tenths right now between him and George, the next best car. Tadpole there with a nice shock in the top 3. We'll see if things end off this way, but right now Cookie improving not at all in the first sector. 27 thousandths down. He's got to find time on this lap, and he's using different gears or different ultimatums in order to find some time. Already below 65% of the ERS as he heads to Cops Corner. This is one of the most trickiest corners to nail full throttle, but a lot of the time it is full throttle, even when in slipstream, even when battling, whatever it may be. He's got a Mercedes to negotiate his way through. That may give him some dirty air. That is either Minico or TB, but oh, that got close. Still down on the time from Cookie, 48 thousandths, but he's got to pull off a Max Verstappen Monaco 2023 replicate here in the last sector in order to extend pole position. But this first lap already was good enough from Cookie. It's just a matter of if he can extend it or keep it at the top of the table. He does extend it. The last sector was much better. 24.6, extending the gap for pole position, and would be taking a 5th win in a row if he just holds it for the remaining 2 minutes. Hunted and validated. Owen improving by 3 tenths. That could get him 5th. We'll go on board with this lap before anyone goes for pole position to take it away. My God, what a lap by Cookie, and that could be one of the largest margins for Tier 1 pole if he keeps this, though, because the thing is that we have drivers yet to improve, Titan. Owen now is improving.
Just coming across the line, puts it second fastest. He improved by over half a second. But unfortunately, he is still a ways away from Cookie at this moment. Gap almost still roughly 8.5 tenths between now first and second. Who is going to be next? Who's next
Hunted
to get
validated.
a lap? Well, the small cars getting some laps in.
Stanners crashed.
Going to start the route laps and stuff.
That's not good for Stanners. On Tier 1 debut, he crashed out of the session. I'm trying to figure out who to go on board with, because I want to be able to get into the laps we can. Got George. Will he get to the checkered flag in time? Yes, he will. We'll go on board with Scyther, though, in the meantime, because this will be one of the laps to complete. Actually, first we'll go Reese, then Scyther, then Reese. I thought Reese was farther ahead, but Reese is improving 66 thousandths in the first sector. Cookie already completed his lap. Checkered flag there. The Mercedes comes across the line of the fake TB to put it on the front row. That was much needed from him, but now Scyther, who does not have a single lap in this session, goes 207 into Stowe Corner to try to find improvements. Where will this lap time set him? The one that he's not set, he has to get valid. And this time, it's one and done for him. Will it be pole position for Scyther across the line? 25-0. He minimizes the gap between Cookie and the next best guy. 3/10 there. Reese Dainty's next. He was improving in Sector 1. It's now up to Sector 2 and Sector 3 to get it all out of him now. Checkered flag already out. Checkered flag for Reese means third fastest. So next is the McLarens. Tadpole, who had an impressive top 3 run going for a little bit, was improving. Does he continue to improve? Yes, he does. Fourth fastest. That might be his best qualifying yet for Tier 1 if he holds it. Hunted now. Had invalidated lap time. Can it be a good one? 8th fastest. Minico, improving by 9/10. Will go third fastest. Best Tier 1 qualifying yet. That is an almighty lap from him. But now it's up to the Ferrari teammate of Scyther's teammate, George, to pick off some drivers, and I don't think he did much. He did get 6th, but Cookie is on pole for a 5th straight week.
What a blistering lap set by Cookie there, and take a look at the results. It may not be a Red Bull lockout that Cookie and Reese would have liked, but on a different note, this is the British Grand Prix, but we have an American front row with Cookie and Scyther. And Minico, third fastest, a very impressive lap from him.
Here's your qualifying order. Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes. Cookie, Scyther, Minico. Then it's Reese Dainty, 4th for Red Bull. A little bit of a disappointment from Reese. Tadpole, 5th. Really good qualifying effort from him. Then George, TB, Owen, Hunted, and Stanners. That's your top 10 qualifying order. The strategy for tonight's event. Let's talk about it. Soft, hard, medium, hard. Maybe soft, medium being a possibility. Could be. And we mentioned the pit stop loss and the ERS gain back already, but expect any pit stops that will happen from soft guys to start around lap 7, lap 8 area. That should be when that will happen. And remember, the soft tires, though, they wear 6% a lap. Seems like a cloudy race on deck.
Yeah, definitely a bit of overcast skies. And, I mean, to be fair, also, this track is one of the hardest tracks in regards to maintaining tire wear, because you never know what the tire wear will do at a circuit like this. Think about it in real life when Lewis wound up winning the race on 3 wheels after one got a puncture, and then a year prior when other cars like Valtteri Bottas and even Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari getting a puncture
15
near
seconds.
the end. Anything is possible if it falls the same physics here.
So, by the way, I just checked Reese's thing, and we have 5 seconds, Titan. If this race goes long enough with lots of safety cars, we will get rain at the end of the race. But
Ooh.
we'll find out if that happens. The lights are coming on for a 10th time in Silverstone RPL F1. The 5 lights are on, and they're away. It's go time. Cookie, Scyther, wheel-to-wheel toward turn 1. Cookie gets the advantage, but now George battles Tadpole side by side there, and George gets ahead. But for now, Tadpole trying to go around the outside, and Scyther wanted to have a look on on Cookie. Well, Minico had a look on him, couldn't do it. Many battles here into the loop area. Lots of 2 wide, some 3 wide, and now down the Wellington Straight for the first time. The fake TB looking to mix it up and dice it up. Gecko on Jack, and now Minico trying to take 2nd place, couldn't do it. Still side by side, Owen and Stanners, Tadpole and Hunted, the 2 McLaren teammates. You have further on back, Jack and KVS, just tons of action still continuing, and Reese is getting squawked up, and Stanners spun around, and now Stanners will have to settle for the back of the grid. Now 3 wide in Cobb's corner, both McLarens, contact!
Ooh, baby!
Reese Dainty getting the both of them, but can he hold it? This would be an incredible move. Reese Dainty goes through on both of them. My God, Reese had lots of balls right there to go for it and hold his car in that ground side by side through Cops and Maggots and Beckett's, and it's still not done with the McLarens duking it out. Owen gets Tadpole, now Hunted for company.
Jeez, I mean, Reese on that first lap just had literally balls of steel there, having to deal with both the McLarens in comps and Super Magazine packets.
My
I was
God!
literally at the edge of my seat watching that. That
Gecko!
was just insane.
Wow!
Ooh.
Gecko and Tadpole just dueling it out right there in turn one. That got dicey. Sorry, Titan. Stander's out of this race from the pit lane.
Yeah, Sanders,
Oh my God.
for him.
What
Oh my
an incredible
goodness.
start. Wow. I don't think we've seen a
Tadpole
first lap
losing
like
it.
that in a while. Tadpole getting eaten alive right now. He just passed by NRM KVS as things start to calm down side by side for the moment, but then they figure it out single file. Further on back to Chiller. Wavy, Zatsy in a battle. Wavy and Zatsy side by side. Wavy was also in the back of the field as well in lap one, trying to go side by side in the last couple of corners. He was doing that successfully and racing really good wheel to wheel, but now he's got other cars for company. Stanners' retired car comes out of the pit lane, while Gecko now and Jack Miles trade the spots here for 9th and 10th place. It's just not ending. This is like last season, but on steroids right now. Wavy Knife passed by Zatsy, and now Barney wants it too. NRM KVS around. That's at the chicane. You could probably tell me if he got a tap now, because I'm sure he did from the way he was spun around.
I was able to catch a chunk of it, but unfortunately it was a bit hindered because I was on his bumper cam. But KVS wanted me in an accordion effect because Gecko almost went into the back of Jack in the Veil, and that was a bit of a checkup. KVS got bumped by I believe by Tadpole, and that's why he went around.
Whoa!
And I think that could have been unfortunate for Tadpole because there was a checkup ahead, and he probably had nowhere to go and no time to react.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Tadpole, by the way, I think he just got cut off by Darius right there. I don't think Darius meant to do that, but that caused Tadpole to take evasive action right there. Minico lagging out from a podium place.
I got him.
All right, well, Reese Dainty now tries to get George. These two do not like each other on and off the racetrack, but now they try to take the podium places, and he's gonna go around the outside. George side-by-side racing between these two there. They're keeping it clean for now, and now trying to pick off Minico too, but around the outside, George tried to hold it. Reese just sent it though in order to keep it. And Minico down to 5th from all that. Still battles further on back brewing. Wavy Knife in on the action, having a little scrap there. Minico's finally joined back. The lead, though, is up for grabs with Scyther on the softs. Reese on the softs now in 3rd. And Cookie, I could say it, has someone in DRS of him after 3 laps. And TB gets Minico.
Yeah, Minico, unfortunately, the bad luck streak for Minico is continuing again because of that lag out, but he's back in control. Unfortunately, he was at risk of losing 6 to Owen, but manages to fight it back.
What is happening to Owen?
And
He's
he
just
maintains that 6th.
Yeah, Owen right there, as Minico joined back, just started losing the rear constantly and just slipping and sliding there into Sector 2. And Wavy Knife and Kipu having a nice little battle here. 2 full-time Tier 2 drivers gonna go side by side at Cop's Corner. My goodness! Kipu holding the inside line. That's the 2nd time we've seen racing wheel-to-wheel at Cop's Corner. My gosh, these guys absolutely having ballsy moves tonight.
Yeah, it may be the early stages of the race, but this is a war zone between a lot of these drivers.
Tell me about it.
Maybe not close enough to re-attack Kipu to try to take that 16th back, but there's still more and more fights all over the place. As Speedy is all over the back of the chiller. That is for the 11th place spot. Now there is a mini DRS train with TB all the way back to Jack.
Yeah, let's see what happens, you know? There is so much going on, and Scyther's almost out of DRS of Cookie. I think the DRS that he's about to get now is going to be the big factor to keep him in DRS, but those soft tires wear so much. I think Cookie just on the revert strategy because of that. As of this current moment, the Chiller is trying to hang on to 11th place from Speedy. Speedy not going to go for a move right here. Would be a little bit silly to do so, but a move being made further on back. Enter MKVS trying to claw his way back through the field after he had that spin early on. He's now racing side by side with Wavy. George is racing side by side with Reese, and George and Reese at Cop's corner. Go side by side. George getting ahead. Sorry to miss that, but now TB and Minico and Owen having a scrap further on back. There's just so much. George must have used his battery there to get Reese, but now Ferrari versus Red Bull with both ends of the racetrack. Sector 3 already. Now this straight. Here comes Reese back at it. Reese on the inside line while they battle for their back.
Yeah, Reese and George still are duking it out for the position here, as Reese manages to get past and Owen clearing TB, but TB's not giving it up as he is on the outside trying to get past, but Owen just shuts the door and says, "Nuh-uh, I'm gonna take this spot now." He's up in the 6th, TB has to fall to 7th, and Minico, despite that one disconnect, he's back at it. He's up in the 5th, and I believe where George passed Reese Cops, that's actually where the Mercedes switched to.
While Reese did that, by the way, this is exactly the same thing with George and Reese that Reese has been doing to Scyther in past weeks, saying, look, if you're going to try to fight for positions here rather than gaining, I'm going to take all action on that. Tadpole gets the Chiller here into Brooklands and Luffield area. I'm calling it Brooklands Luffield area because it is connected in a way if you think about it. But George still maintains DRS to try to battle for his first RPL Tier 1 podium, but now he's track extending. He doesn't have much battery to play with, neither does Reese, neither does Minico. Owen has a little bit more. TB has similar amount to them, same with Hunted. So yeah, this DRS train battle is not going to go away anytime soon, and Minico either wanting to claim the spot now or just sitting behind and hope that these two mess around so he can claim that spot again, because he lost that spot from lagging out. And Speedy gets Gecko.
Absolutely.
Barney gets Zatsy. Sorry.
That's all right.
Simple DRS.
But yeah, absolutely. As you were mentioning, I just took a quick peek at the race director. Currently, 4 drivers are at risk of getting a track limit penalty. I wonder who could get it first.
Minico! Late lunge, and now I'm going to race wheel to wheel with George and going to make contact. They bang back and forth, but that would have been an impressive move if he could just pull it off. But now I think he almost costed George for DRS, and sorry to cut and tighten, but I think we're still going to have some racing here to the Brooklands Luffield area. No, they remain single file, but that was absolutely scary.
It was quite wild to see. So yeah, as I was mentioning, Owen, TB, Hunted, and Gecko. Those 4 drivers currently have 4 warnings to them. Meanwhile, the Chiller, Zatsy, and Cookie, they have 1 warning to their credit.
Yeah, I mean, this is just constant racing throughout the field. There's a 5-car train at the back of the field, 14th to 18th there battling. There's one up in front of that. There's one up in front of that, which we see now.
Minico's looking for the move.
Here he goes, down the inside. He gets the move done. And now, does Owen do it on the action too? No, not just yet. Gecko spun around on the hangar straight. While that's happening, there's a lot of cars that overtake him while Zatsy gets Barney. And does Zatsy keep the place on Barney? Not for now. I think Zatsy trying to give it back. He overtook under yellow flag, so now they're 3 wide for a moment. And Wavy Knife also going around the outside. Barney struggling. Zatsy on the outside line trying to hold on to Wavy. This is a 4-5 car scrap and 2x2 to turn 1. Abbey corner. Around the outside, Zatsy's going to go. And will he hold it? He had the track limit penalty to spare. Now, in the background, here's NRM KVS making contact. And now Owen getting George.
KVS tried to sneak a peek on 2 drivers, just couldn't get it done. He managed to sneak it in on Kipu, but got a little clip with
Oh!
Moss Cookie. Oh, yeah!
That's a bit of a shock. And this is a transfer from Canada where Cookie, once he gets threatened, he bottles it under pressure. Track limit penalty for him. The second time in 12 races that he's had a track limit penalty. Or the second race, sorry, not the second time.
That's perfectly all right. But yeah, but yeah, literally, some of the people in the Discord chat saying literally the only way Cookie can be beaten from P1 is by track limit penalties or by penalties from the stewards. That's the only way he can be beaten. And unfortunately, Cookie joining has Zatsy with him in the penalty box club.
Only 2 drivers in that club right now. We've got 3 drivers on soft tires right now as well. So this is around the time where we should be seeing some pit stops. But I'm really curious with that one slot of rain in the 6 slots at the end of this race. If we do get a safety car or a VSC, or even not, do we still see it regardless? And if we do, does that change the complexion with the strategy from these drivers? We'll have to find out. We have constant DRS games here between the drivers. Maybe not games in terms of sitting here saying, nope, you have the DRS, nope, I'll have the DRS. But constant games to where we're seeing overtakes, and the most recent one comes from NRM KVS on Kipu.
Yeah, KVS overtaking Kipu to take the 16th place position. I just took a peek at the race director, the electronic race director, just to see. I do wonder where he got it, though, because Cookie, he had his first warning back on lap 5, and his track limit penalty, the track limit penalty and his second warning came from the same lap, 1 lap ago, back on lap 8.
My only assumption is that he's trying to get Scyther at a DRS that badly because, although Cookie will switch tires, probably to the softs, Scyther might have a lot of pace in that mediums he's feeling or fearing. Barney and Zatsy, once again, a nice little swap there in the background, but we're still watching on the stream 4th place, which is up for grabs because Reese Dainty has pulled a gap for 3rd. NRM KVS is in, and as Dainty's pulled the gap for 3rd, Minico has a train to follow. It's got an Alpine in it, a McLaren in it, his teammate in it to help, his Academy teammate Owen just behind, and George Alp Williams, who's been battling constantly in this train, similar to how he did in France. And does he go for the move on Owen into Sector 2? No.
Yeah, George currently stuck behind Owen. Now, bear in mind, these two have history, either being teammates / competitors against each other in Tier 2 a couple of seasons ago. Yeah, they're stuck in the middle of that DRS train, which starts at Minico, ends at Jag, and Tadpole has a tiny DRS train too. He's got Speedy and the Chiller right behind. That's a fight. That's a 3-way fight for the final points-paying spot.
Owen has DRS and Minico. Will he make the move here? Does he go down the inside? No. He has to think about it. George, by the way, I just want to mention this. Nice improvement compared to last season. He was just outside the points in this race last season and battling for it. The Chiller as well was in the Ferrari in this race last season. No points for them. I believe, if I'm correct, that's the last time they haven't scored points. So a nice recovery from Ferrari this season in this race, while the 2 other Ferrari Academy cars, Barney and Zatsy, traded spots. And Zatsy, the second one to head of the pit lane. These guys on mediums are started ahead of the pit lane before. These guys on softs, and Kipu is the first driver to speed in this very long pit lane.
Yeah, a speeding penalty is not a good thing to have happen at this point in time. And speaking about pulling gaps, Scyther has now dropped out of the DRS against Cookie. So Cookie will have a bit of breathing room, but unfortunately he has to pull at least a 3-second gap in order to keep that lead secured. Now, the only other thing that Cookie will have to hope for is for Scyther to get himself into the penalty box. And I will say this, Scyther does have a warning, which was back on lap 7.
Look at the leader gap as well with these guys as of the current moment. The pit stop loss here is 28 seconds. If Scyther or Cookie pit, they come out around that Barney and Wavy battle that has been constantly brewing this whole race, back and forth. Scyther is in, and reasonably so this lap because he was losing tons of time. Reese Dainty in as well. Yellow flags, that's Gecko, I believe, or Kipu. Hunted's in as well. Jack is in as well, and we'll see if anyone else follows. That yellow flag there was definitely for Gecko. This train as well that Speedy, Tadpole, and the Chiller have sees 2 of those cars in that train pit. Barney is in. Everybody seems to be pitting on this lap, regardless of whether you're on softs or mediums. And Bonkers is still not back in the session. You may want to give him an invite.
Let's hope Tadpole wasn't affected by the double stack, because he came in as well. Just a tiny delay, so he wasn't affected too badly. As,
TB.
Yeah, TB battling it off with George.
Nice little send there on George, but it's going to cost them because they lost 6/10 rather than only losing about a 10th or 2. Chiller, Tadpole, Barney now exiting the pit lane. We'll see out of TB and these guys still left out on the racetrack in this area who blinks first. Hunted, a part of the penalty list of drivers. 7 viewers, let us know your thoughts on this race so far. I got a reminder for you guys, the European stretch coming up. You got Hungary, you got Belgium, you got other races still remaining, and Cookie still remaining out in the racetrack right now. With that said, there's 2 tracks, by the way, as the Chiller gets bonky. So does Tadpole. There's 2 tracks that will be removed because of how early F124 will be coming out. We'll find out what tracks they are in the coming weeks. But George Alp Williams, the next one to head to the pit lane.
Yeah, George is in for his stop. Now, I think this is a little bit of an unusual spot, but Hunted got his track limit penalty in Aimtree, the corner right by the Wellington Straight. That's where he got his track limit penalty at. You don't see that type of penalty there. It is very rare in that spot.
Well, I think that happens most times as Wavy comes in. I think that happens most times because a driver will sit here and they'll be battling one another, or in the slipstream already, which Hunted was in, either ahead or behind, doesn't matter. He was in that area in a battle, and you try to turn right here. Watch what Hunted does. You'll try to turn. You don't want to turn too much. He must have either turned too much right there or turned too little, and then had that happen on the right side, Jack Miles makes the overtake for 8th place on the Academy teammate.
Yeah, very true indeed. And Hunted, as mentioned earlier in the broadcast, will become the team principal of Alpine Academy next season. Minico losing 2nd place to Owen. That is a bit of a wild one there. So Owen, the Aston Martin, holding his own and being strong in the second. Well, TB on the hard tires coming in.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a shock, but we'll find out what tires he chooses to go to. We've got Hunted still in DRS pursuit of Jack Miles. He has the penalty to spare. TB on the mediums. Cookie with a 12-second gap, though. But what is Scyther doing for an undercut? Right now, if Cookie pits, Scyther comes out just within 7/10 of him, if that. I think Scyther will maybe get this undercut here on Cookie, but it's just a matter of if it lasts or not. You know, I think for Cookie, he'll want to go to these soft tires based on what he's doing right now. But, yeah, even if Scyther jumps him, I think Cookie has the, has the tire length, has the tire wear just to get him back. That Ferrari struggles with tire wear, but we'll find out. At least Scyther's keeping Cookie on his toes, which is what he wanted. Scyther wanted a battle with Cookie. TB comes out behind George, and I think just missed DRS right there. Hunted didn't miss DRS. And, yeah, if Owen comes out right now, that's a 28-second gap. He comes out in this train with Jack and Hunted. But the guy who's pulled a lot from this train and was in it really at the start, and he was really in it to not win it because this battle was continuing. He's in it to win it now for a podium. Reese Dainty
goes
pulled
in.
a 2.2-second gap, and you have a point by saying Minico is in because This will help in terms of the undercut and Owen, and this is exactly where he will come out, right where we're watching this battle. Hunted Jack still continuing. Now a 4-car scrap, and now Hunted going for the move, right side, inside for the next corner. Does he keep it ahead? Yes.
Yeah, despite Hunter getting ahead of Jack, he does have that track limit penalty. Now, I was just checking on basically the net 2 car, the net 1-2. Once all the pit stops have gone through, that being Scyther and Cookie. Scyther still has that 1 track limit warning back on lap number 7. Cookie, unfortunately, just a lap ago, just picked up his 4th total track limit warning.
So he must be hoping then for these soft tires when he pits to have that pace advantage over Scyther, who is going to gap him right now as of the current moment by just a couple of tenths. But what does that matter when you have the soft tires and a Red Bull behind you? From what Scyther has felt, Scyther not really feeling happy about the fact that Cookie is stat padding, he feels. And with Cookie being in, we'll find out what this race looks like between him and Scyther. Scyther, though, in this back straight, will get DRS from Speedy. That is very interesting, in fact, to help him in this battle with Cookie. But, yeah, Scyther not been happy with Cookie since the recent collision in Canada. We'll find out how he feels now that he'll be battling him out of the pit lane, excuse me. This battle continues for 6th place. Owen's in 2. He'll be in this train. Now, in this train, George is making the move. And George is going down the inside of 2 cars for a moment. TB's the one for now, and he makes contact with him. Jack Miles protecting his places as well. George going to go around the outside, and now the 2 leaders battle it. Scyther takes the lead of the race. And now George just shoving TB to the curb. And Minico, side by side, he'll get the place for now. On both. Oh! Oh, no! George! It looked like he got across TB and the safety car is out. Big collision to end both the races. And George and TB not going to be happy after that.
Oh my God, that was bad. What the hell was Wavy doing?
Wavy? You mean George?
I just caught what happened when the safety car came out. Wavy was going into the pits, but then cut through the grass to get back onto the track.
The chiller moment. Maybe you want to clip it.
I did, but I missed a chunk of it.
I don't really get that. I think, TB said rejoin the track safely. I don't really understand what George is upset about Minico with. I get TB. But there's no real need to be upset about Minico for something, because it was really TB he collided with. Minico was racing hard with him, but fair. Minico said he left space. George and TB shutting the door on one another, and that was inevitable with how they were racing. George just pinching him and pinning him. I don't know who's at fault for the collision. As of the stream angle, seeing that live, it looked like it was more on George, but really, I want to see a replay, because I don't want to put the blame on George just yet either. Cookie stays out. Hunted gets a drive-through. He's been running in the points, and that is catastrophic. But everybody behind that pitting, except for Owen, who's on the soft tires, recently making his stop, and he would have won out big in this situation if he had stayed out. The reason being, he would have been ahead of Cookie and can control his destiny. But Scyther's in, Reese in. Hunted got a drive-through, but he pitted for softs. That's unfortunate. That might have been because the way the pit lane is, similar to Canada. Jack pitted for softs. Minico on the mediums. That's a bit rare. Speedy stays out. He'll be 4th for Aston. Chiller in, leading the penalty standings this season. Tadpole, Wavy. Just tons of cars pitting now and taking the opportunity to go for fresh tires. And reasonably so, with Cookie having the penalty from the lead.
Yeah, I mean, when you were talking about earlier about what happened between George, TB, and Minico, what happened prior to the collision, I unfortunately either missed it or just caught a bad angle, so I didn't see what transpired before that. But man, what a devastating collision between the Ferrari and the Mercedes, both of them being out. So now that's going to mean that basically Scyther and Minico are both on their own to get points for their team.
Yeah, I mean, this race last season had 2 DNFs in the race. We're at 3 right now, and we had 2 cars collide right there on the main straight, on the Hamilton straight, funny enough too, between 2 cars that Hamilton will have driven in his career in real life once his career ends. Mercedes currently with Ferrari next year. So very interesting how that happens in that type of manner. Safety car still out and gonna continue to be out for a little bit longer. Scyther has no penalty. Owen has no penalty. Speedy is there for Aston. Reese is 5th in the timing table as well right now, just ahead of Minico and mediums. Just about 90% of the field really took an opportunity to pit right there or has fresh tires. With that said, with the safety car being out right now on lap 18 out of 26, we mentioned at the start of the stream, or the start of this race, the chance for rain at the end of this race. I said if a safety car happens, that increases the chance for it. There was the 6th patch at the end of this race showing a bit of rain on deck. And I wonder if the drivers are checking for that and what they can tell us. But Minico has just went wide under the safety car and has lost 2 places from that. That is not good for him. But with that said about the rain, I wonder if we're going to get any. I don't think, with the way this is going, looking at the cloud cover, I don't think we'll get... Oh! Minico has ran in the back of Jack Miles under the safety car. I don't know if that was his AI or not. But that is troubling. Just with the rain, the thing I was going to mention is that I don't think it'll be enough for inners. If there is any, it will be a slight pop-up shower on the final lap or 2, I would say.
Yeah. And I was just... while everyone was under the safety car, I did take a peek at the race director for the drivers in the top 5. Cookie is still sitting at 4 total track limit warnings. Owen is sitting at 2. Scyther is sitting at 2. And Speedy and Reese don't have any at all.
Yeah. Interesting. Geico pits for a 4th time this race. And he'll need to catch the safety car very soon here because it's in this lap. So the safety car is going to run without him. We have a late race dash here on our hands. Owen, Scyther, and Speedy right now is the net podium. The last time Aston Martin, to my knowledge, had a double podium at RPL, we'd probably have to go back to Season 3 or Season 2 area when they were racing point. But now Cookie on the gas. Pedal to the metal. Back green flag racing from the lead. And he's going to try to extend that gap a lot now with just 7 to 8 laps remaining. He's got a 2nd gap now. He's got Scyther on Owen. 2 pounds. Does Scyther go for the move past Abby? Here he goes down the inside. He's got new, fresh tires. So does Owen. But Scyther with newer tires gets the move complete. Wavy and Bonky also making a move further on back in the background, but that's outside the points. Their only hope is penalties in front or spins. But now Reese on Speedy. Reese having Speedy throw the block on him. And Jack Miles getting hunted as the drive-thru side by side. Gecko around the cause of yellow flags. Reese gets the move complete. Jack Miles with Hunted still available for some racing room. Kipu and Wavy, this is a battle for 14th, by the way, brewing. But, like I said, penalties applied in front of them. They're going to need that massively to help. Minico wanted to go side-by-side. Collision! Hunted and Minico have both come together, and they're both around in the S section at Maggins and Beckett's. My goodness. Another Mercedes colliding with another car in recent moments. And Minico, absolute heartbreak again. That could have been a podium considering the pace he had this race. But he was on mediums. He was at a disadvantage, so maybe not. Wow.
Sorry about that. I was just distracted for a second. What I missed.
All good. But Hunted and Minico collided. Hunted serving the drive-through. Jack Miles in the back of Speedy. Speedy's on for a really good result here. But he's got Jack Miles for company, as we say. Right now, the top 3, runners would be Scyther, Owen, Cookie. And we've seen this table and tail happen before. Jack Miles and Speedy do a little bit of swapping for 5th place. Jack Miles is on a really good run for Alpine today. He'd be a good contender for driver of the day. DeChiller, KVS, and the points for the Ferrari Academy on recovery drives right there as well. Because of the DNFs, though, from TB and George, and also the collision with Hunted and Minico, door wide open.
Yeah, completely true indeed. And when you were asking why Minico went wide, it was because Luke ordered him to let Jack and Hunted by. I guess AI overtook, and he had to return those positions back. That's what happened near the end of that safety car. That's why Minico lost those couple of spots, and unfortunately, he's all the way down at 14th at this present time. Meanwhile, back up towards the front, Reese chasing Owen down to try to take that last spot on the podium. Scyther right now needs to do something to stay within that 3-second gap in order to steal the win from Cookie.
By the way, Wavy Knife just made the move on Kippu, blasting past him. Gecko picks up a penalty, and speaking of penalties, Wavy's got 2 guys in front with a penalty. If he is able to pick off Zatsy, he'll take his first points finish in RPL Tier 1 in nearly 2 seasons, if not more. We've got Reese Dainty on Owen, down the inside, sending it and getting the move done. Reese Dainty up to 3rd place, and now trying to get 2nd from Scyther to make it a Red Bull 1-2. Big movers in this race from their starting spots. Speedy, Jack, DeChiller, Zatsy, and now Owen at Cobb's corner! Side by side! Oh my god, Owen through! Holy cow! That's the 3rd time!
Attacks like that!
Oh my word! He's trying so hard to keep a 2nd podium this season, and now he's gonna make the move on Scyther! Does he though?
No way.
No. Okay, that would have been an absolute send from miles away. I feel like since Cryptic's not been racing Tier 1, the guy we've been seeing make the sends like that has been Owen recently in Tier 1. Fair credit. Cryptic had those late lunges before, and I think Owen has that title to his name now recently. I've seen a lot from him like that in Tier 2 and Tier 1.
I think in a way, Owen is basically embracing the Honey Badger, being the last of the late breakers, pretty much. Just making some bold and wild shots, for sure. And to be fair, honestly, at the rate this is currently going, no doubt in my mind, Owen right now is currently my leading contender for driver of the day right now.
I would agree to disagree in a way because I think there's a lot of contenders. Tadpole from the race he had is 1, but not in my top 3. NRM KVS is coming back after a spin early on. The Chiller not driver of the day, but fair credit to him, though, to get him in the points and keep it penalty-free. He leads the penalty standings. Minico gets Kippu. Someone else to mention is Speedy as well. He's not had a really good Tier 1 race yet. Jack Miles for Alpine. And, yeah, Owen is a fair contender. I agree with that. Here comes Reese on Owen, while Owen charges past Scyther. If he has the momentum, he'll do it, and he does do it. Reese following suit, down the inside. Side by side still, and Scyther wiggles and has to back off. Scyther 2nd to 4th.
Oh. This is the fight to watch here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a dogfight for 2nd place right now.
Kippu, Wavy, Minico, Kippu getting squeezed and almost off the circuit because of it. I think Wavy's chance for points, the one he's not had in a while, that streak might not happen today with breaking it. But Reese is trying to get another Silverstone podium to his name. If he does this, it would be a 4th, tying the most of the circuit. Right now his battle is with Owen, and Scyther trying to get a 4th as well. They would have the same amount, and they currently still do have the same amount, but they tie Luke with that. With that said, Owen would not be getting Cookie, but if somehow Cookie picks up 2 more warnings, like you said, Titan, it would be 6 seconds, and he'd get him. Minico gets Barney.
Yeah, and I just checked the Twitch chat. Josh just put out his driver of the day contender, Speedy, starting all the way in 15th, is up to 6th.
And Reese riding the back of Owen here in Maggots and Beckett's as the circuit gets much more cloudier and the rain comes closer, which will surely have an effect on the end of this race. But how does the effect of Reese, Scyther, Owen battling affect the run for a podium? Here's Scyther on the back of Reese. Does he go down the inside? He has a look. He makes Reese think. And now he affects that turbulent air. And that battle for third place now still brewing. It's constant. Jack and Speedy as well for fifth. A seventh placer's a battle. Zatsy could be being overtaken by Minico for the last point spot based on the penalties being applied. But if Cookie wins this race tonight, he's going to tie fifth place in the all-times win list with Portly Boot and Maxwell with 10 wins in the RPL career that they had. Cookie trying to go for that and tie it. And Reese does not make the move, but does come close. And he did go wide from it. Yes, he did. You're right, Titan. Here goes Scyther down the inside, tapping him. And do we see another Ferrari collide here as well? Hopefully not, but Scyther muscles his way past Reese. Nice opportunistic move there, but Reese wiggling. Is he not happy with Scyther there?
Well, Scyther, I think, probably employed a bit of a NASCAR bump and run out of left field. Reese probably would not be happy on that little maneuver, but Scyther is up into third and chasing Owen down. Ooh, and Scyther has nearly double of Owen's ERS, and with only 2 to go when they cross the line, this could be anyone's game for second place.
And if it is another penalty for Cookie, it still is a 6-second gap. Something to keep an eye out on. Wavy Knife got another penalty, or sorry, a first penalty. That eliminates his chance for points, but he's still having a decent run though. Keeping it in the race, having a lot of battles. Nice racecraft from him, but that penalty, very costly. Right now, the penalty would be costly from Cookie if he picks up yet another one, and this battle for second place would be it, but it's the battle for second, third, and fourth, and Jack Miles, I'm not going to put his name out of the realms at all or out of any anything being noticed, because if any one of these guys collide up in front, similar to last week, it could be a podium for him, for Alpine. They've not had a podium since season 8.
Yeah, and Owen has to be careful about his ERS usage because Owen is sitting at about 32% ERS while Scyther is sitting at 83 at this moment. So Scyther has a lot more ERS to deploy, and I'm probably most likely with Scyther, he's gonna dish it all out on the final lap. Reese is sitting at about 20% ERS. He is having trouble keeping that ERS active as Scyther slingshots past Owen, gets himself back in the second.
Just want to mention it's crucial for Mercedes with Minico to keep this point spot that he has on penalties right now, because if they don't, it'd be the first time in 47, 48 races since they've not scored points. Mercedes, the longest streak, the final lap underway in Silverstone. Cookie leading, has the penalty. Scyther second, just trying to hold on for second right now. He's got Owen for company, Reese for company, and it's still not over. We've still got 2 DRS zones to go.
Yeah, Scyther is probably going to employ all of his ERS to pull that gap off of Owen, which Owen would not want because he has to keep Reese behind. And he is actually doing really well keeping the defending champion behind. Owen is looking for a podium to his credit. But, I mean, Scyther is sitting at 2 warnings, though. So if Scyther wants to get a track limit penalty, it will cost him.
Yeah, that is true. And we'll find out what happens here. Cookie is entering the final sector now. Not much to go for our race winner here as long as he doesn't pick up a penalty. Owen as well looking for what will be a 13th podium if he just hangs on. A little bit of spots trading further on back. We don't see anything happening for second place. Zatsy picks up another penalty. That will be costly. Cookie. Last season, it was a podium in Mercedes for him, but this time in Silverstone, win number 10 on the RPL list, equaling Maxwell and Portly Boot. Scyther crosses second to get what is going to be for him a 47th podium. Owen, second of the season, 13th all-time. More cars cross the line. Reese's podium streak comes to an end. Jack Miles, Speedy, Tadpole, KVS, to Chiller, and now Minico round out the points.
Minico just gets himself into that top 10. Good recovery for him to stay in the 10th place spot. Yep, I did see that. He will get that 10th place reinstated. Just a note. We will note that he is going to keep that 10th back. We'll have to just watch back on the stream to see what the gap was before he went to DNF and leaving. The Chiller and KVS into the points. Speedy, I believe this is his first time in the points.
For Tier 1, yes, that is true. Tadpole, a nice recovery drive. KVS 2 to Chiller, deserved that point spot. Hunted crossing the line. Jack Miles as well up there. And those are all your finishers from tonight's event. 17 of them. Lots of battles, lots of racing in the British Grand Prix here. But Cookie, 10 wins in RPL Tier 1. He is equal with Portly Boot and Maxwell for 5th on the all-time win list. And he is just 2 wins off of the Chiller and Reese Dainty. Cookie gives us a wave. No British drivers on the podium tonight. We've got an Irish driver on podium and an American one too from Cookie and Scyther once again. In RPL, we've had Cookie and Scyther finish 1-2 now for what is the 6th time. Tied 7th for that category of first and second most often together. Here are your final results, folks. Some guys did 2 stops, some guys did 1 stops, some guys had penalties, some guys did not. But for a 5th race running in a row, Cookie with the fastest lap. Cookie, Scyther, Owen the podium. Aston back up there. Alpine in the top 5. Speedy 6th. Tadpole 7th. Much needed 7 from Tadpole. He needed that after his Tier 1 runs. Speedy in the points for the first time in Tier 1. NRM KVS with the comeback. The Chiller 9th. Minico will be 10th. And those are your guys outside the points as well. And DNF'd from this event. Titan, any final and closing thoughts from this race and a driver of the day pick from you?
I mean, what else could be said? This race had so much happening. We had some of the wildest overtakes we've ever seen. We've seen some wild side-by-side action in corners that you never see. Stuff like that happening. And I know he got he did pretty good start getting P15 to P6. He is a very strong contender. He's a very solid contender for it. But I'm still standing with my driver today being Owen for that. But in regards to if I had to give a team of the day, just by how well they have done in this event, I mean, fair credit to Red Bull for it, but I would say in this race, Aston Martin would be the team of the day for Owen pulling off a podium and holding his own against Scyther and Reese, and then Speedy doing everything he could, just hanging in that top 10 the entire time, starting in 15th, and then trying to put a last-ditch fight to try to get himself in the top 5. That's why I would easily put Aston Martin probably as team of the day, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd give them team of the day as well. In that way, I would also say fair credit to Alfa Romeo too, by the way, because they get their best finish of the season and also claw their way back up in the constructors table. Aston trying to hold on for 5th, just continue to extend the gap with those finishes. Just lots of positive things to talk about. Alpine also pick off AlphaTauri for 6th. Red Bull obviously extend the gap. So does Cookie on Scyther. My driver of the day is Speedy. I think it's simple right there. I don't need any explanation. Josh made a fair point there. I think Speedy is more of a deserving driver of the day than Owen. Did Owen drive great? Yes, he did. But I think I have to give it to Speedy after all. Owen continuing to rack up these podiums. It's impressive. Second one of the season in Tier 1. And first one since going full-time Tier 1. I think it really showed Aston picking him up was the right choice here for Wavy and Josh to do. They may not be the fastest drivers, Wavy, and I wouldn't include Josh in that, but I'd say Wavy might not be the fastest driver, but he's definitely got some talent that he can see right in front of him, that's for sure, and knows what to do with the team principal role this time around in RPL. Yeah, Speedy drove the day for me. Impressive performances from a lot of these guys. Cookie as well, although he had the 3-second, fair play for him not to get a 6-second, continuing to win in RPL. Another win in a row, I believe. Let me just double check that. Cookie has been on quite the streak, though, with poles. As for wins, though, this is win 2 in a row because Dainty got in the way of that at Canada. So, yeah, that streak got restarted. But, yeah, Speedy driver of the day for me. Tomorrow's event for Formula Endurance and RPL is in Abu Dhabi. Tune in for that. Next week, we go to Las Vegas for Tier 2. I highly suggest you tune into that. Vegas may not be the most interesting track you guys like, but it has a 3-way constructors fight on our hands. The Drivers' Championship wrapped up. As for next week in F1 and future weeks, we have the European stretch. We are in Hungary, and then that'll be the halfway point of the season. Little fun fact to end off the stream. That's the last circuit that the Chiller has had a podium at in RPL Tier 1. He's gone a full season without one. He's had longer, but we'll find out what our drivers do next week in the event in Hungary. I'm your commentator, Ryan Searles. Alongside me, RPL Titan Iron tonight. And thank you for covering it with me, Titan, because it's going to be hard to put together for race highlights, that's for sure. And maybe that's the good thing, though, because it showed it was one of the best races we've had this season, let alone in RPL as a whole. Either way, have a good night, folks, and we will see you for the next time you choose to watch here in RPL Formula 1. Good night.